What I want to talk to you about today is the source of content, the source of creativity, the source of genius. And basically, I want to ask you a question, which is, how do you generate something to say? This is a question I get asked a lot by students on bootcamp, by people in general, learning pickup, learning game, by people that attend my seminars, whatever, is what do I say? How do I come up with something to say? How do I be interesting? How do I be charismatic? How do I be funny? Whatever. How do I come up with content? And I want to tell you, basically briefly, there are two great sources of content. One is specifics, and two is action. Very simply, okay? To begin with, in specifics, I want to illustrate with a story. This is actually an anecdote from the book Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. What happened in this anecdote is a teacher assigned a class to write an essay on anything in the world. They could write an essay of a certain amount of words on anything in the world that they chose. And what happened was the students struggled massively with this assignment because they didn't understand the assignment, they didn't know where to start, they didn't know what was the right topic, what was the right treatment, what was the right voice, they didn't know how to handle it. And so everybody hated the assignment, they struggled, the papers were terrible. If they did come in, many people didn't even do the assignment, and the performance was generally just very, very poor. Then the teacher gave the assignment again, and he said, okay, I want you to write about our town. And now all of a sudden people had a much better idea what to write about. They came up with better content, they were more able to complete the assignment, and just the general overall performance was good, but it was still not their best work and not really satisfying. Then he kept narrowing it until eventually he said, I want you to talk about the top left brick on the wall facing us as you look out our window. And by starting there, all of a sudden, the students just started describing the book and going with whatever came to them naturally from there. And the content became brilliant because they were dealing with something very specific. They were dealing with something that triggered their brain to just begin in motion. And it forced them to bring their own interpretation because it was such a simple, specific thing, okay? So specifics make content more interesting. Specifics also are good generators for input. Another great example for this is improvisational comedy. If you've ever been to an improvisational comedy show, what do? First thing that they'll do is they get a word from the audience as a suggestion. One word, and then they play with the word, mess around with it, twist it in different ways, and they make an entire show up about the word. Now that word may not seem super important, it may seem like they're making the whole thing up, but without the word, they would be kind of lost. It would be very hard for them to get all on the same page. And so the word, that one specific, actually is truly, truly important. Look at this, we got some fireworks going on over here. Very interesting. Let's get those in the background. So the specifics actually are critical to the overall performance and success of the creative endeavor. Another thing that specifics do is they make whatever you're saying more interesting. For example, if I was to say to you, I ate a hamburger, that's pretty boring. But if I were to say to you, I ate a 1/4 pound juicy burger dripping with grease and bacon that literally made the pores in my mouth shrivel from the amount of salt and made my brain literally say, ah, that's much more interesting. Now, is that actually true? I don't know. Is that a little weird? Yeah, probably. But the specifics make it more interesting. For example, another one would be, instead of saying I was with my family, I was talking to my OCD aunt that can never shut up. That's obviously more interesting. So specifics also make it more interesting. So by getting specific, by focusing on something small and specific, you're able to generate content much more effectively. You're able to bring your own personality to the content, and also the inherent content will be more interesting. So that's the first step in generating content from nothing. And so this is why whenever I'm teaching students how to do an approach, a lot of times I will tell them, just say what's on your mind. Just say the first thing you think about. Just pick one word and start talking, or just say anything. Just narrate what's in your mind, because the point is to get specific and start talking, and from there, good thoughts can come. However, from silence, no good thoughts can come, or from some vague generality, your brain doesn't know how to work with that. Your brain does not know how, it's too big a scope for your brain's creative juices to be let loose. You're focusing on too much, and so your brain isn't free to create. The other thing that's great for creativity is motion, right? Motion. Motion creates emotion. You may have heard that before. Motion also creates nuance. Motion creates perspective. Motion and action create content, create learning. As I talk to you right now, as I look at the camera, I have to come up with new things to say. I have to ramble. I have to keep coming up. And right now, at this exact moment, I can tell you, I don't even know what I'm going to say next. I kind of had the outline for the speech. I don't know what the next thing is. But the fact of the matter is, as I continue to go, there's almost two brains going on. There's the brain that's creating that's speaking the content, and the brain that's creating the content. And sooner or later, boom, like the fireworks behind me, something new will come up. And if it doesn't, that's okay. I'll ramble until something does. So by being specific, by having action, by moving through the process, you are able to create content, okay? So those are the two principles. If you want to create good content, what do? Number one, get specific, and number two, take action. That is all. Oh, number three, keep talking no matter what. Do not give up on yourself. Don't quit on yourself. So that's it. How to create unlimited content anytime, how to always have something to say. A couple drills, a couple exercises that you can do for this that are really good. Number one, one-word story exercise. What you do, very simply, you pick one word, you make yourself talk about that word for 2 minutes straight with no hesitation, no pauses, and no stopping, okay? That's it. Very, very simple. Train yourself to always have something to say. Train yourself to take the littlest bit of input and create something from it. One other great exercise that I also teach is what I call sentence, word, which is you say a sentence, take a word out of the sentence, and then make a new sentence using that word. For example, and you just go over and over and over again. You can go for 30 seconds or a minute on this one. It's a great exercise for illogic and just creating content on the spot. I'll give you a quick example just off the top of my head. I'm outside here in Chicago and there are fireworks. Fireworks are what happen between a man and a woman when they like each other. Men and women are from different planets, some people say, but I think they just have different inclinations. My inclination right now is to get back to the video. So you see that you can take those sentences and keep making it sentence, word, and creating on the spot. And by doing this, you always have something to say. It always comes from you. It always reflects your personality, and it's always creative and original. And that's all that's necessary in game, in life, in creating anything spontaneous and creative. Especially if you have more than one take, especially if you're in a brainstorming process. So again, how do we create an unlimited amount of content? Get specific and take action, and then keep going and trust the process. That's it. This is a great metaphor for game as well, because how do you run a good set? Get in, take action, be specific, and keep going. Build that momentum, trust the process, and trust that your night will work out by getting yourself in that process-oriented trance. So you see the metaphor for creativity, the metaphor for game. Go out there, try it, do it. See you next time.